National Outlet Shopping Day is back. Join us June 8th and 9th at Simon Premium Outlets nationwide. Score thousands of can't-miss deals from brands you love all weekend long. They've got up to 65% off every day, and the National Outlet Shopping Day deals are even better. Visit premiumoutlets.com/NOSD to find a premium outlet near you. That's premiumoutlets.com/NOSD.
Welcome to California in Focus. I'm David Mastio. Today we're talking about the business climate in California. Joining me today is the Center Square's Kenneth Trupp, California reporter. Kenneth, the governor this week was pretty proud of some news about the Fortune 500.
That's right. California, which is the largest state in the nation, finally ranks as our country's top home for Fortune 500 companies after a 10-year hiatus. However, the data starts to look less rosy when you look at California's standing on a per capita basis. Due to the state's vast population, it does fall behind New York and Texas, which respectively tied for second and third. California hosted 57 Fortune 500 companies this year, while Texas and New York had 52. When adjusted for a per capita basis, though, California had only 1.46 Fortune 500 companies per million residents, Texas 1.73, and New York at 2.64.
That wasn't the only news this week about California's business climate. Tell me about what's going on with Rubio's.
That's right. Rubio's, the California-based taco chain, announced that it's closing 48 California locations. That's going to account for about 1,250 job losses in the state. And they did cite the state's rising cost of doing business as a major factor in its rationale. California's fast food minimum wage law of $20 per hour took effect in April and is a major new pressure point for businesses operating in the state.
How many jobs have been lost across the state overall due to the minimum wage law?
The minimum wage law is blamed for about 9,500 lost jobs through the end of April, which represents about a 1.3% decrease since the law was signed into effect in September of 2023. Fast food companies are also using more automation and raising prices to offset these higher labor costs. Some also note that overtime is now being reduced. The fast food law requires time and a half for time worked over 8 hours, meaning that workers could be earning $30 an hour as their new minimum wage if they've worked more than 8 hours in the day. Because of that, overtime is being reduced and overall headcounts are being reduced as well.
Rubio's is closing its taco joints in the state. Blaze Pizza is doing something else. Can you tell me about that?
Yes, Blaze Pizza, which is a Southern California-based pizza chain, announced that it's moving its headquarters from Los Angeles to Atlanta. By doing so, it's going to reduce its corporate tax rate by more than a third. Blaze didn't specifically cite California's business climate or taxes, but did say that its relocation was driven by a desire for its, quote, next wave of growth. When you look at GDP of Georgia compared to California, this makes sense. Georgia's annualized GDP growth was 11.8% for April, while California's grew at 3.8% based on the latest data from the end of 2023. Blaze has about one-third of all of its 300 locations in California, and while it did say that its 7,500 restaurant-level employees wouldn't be affected by the move, that its handful of non-remote corporate employees are being offered relocation opportunities.
When you wrap these three stories together, what conclusions do you come to? Or can we expect California to keep growing its number of Fortune 500 companies, or people or experts expecting fewer Fortune 500 companies in the future?
The economic climate of the state does not really seem conducive to hosting more larger companies due to the cost of regulations or even just state taxes. I talked to the California Business and Industrial Alliance's president. They ran a full-page ad in USA Today against the fast food and minimum wage law with an obituary-style message. And they note that Pizza Hut is laying off 1,200 delivery drivers, Round Table Pizza is laying off drivers, and you can, quote, only charge so much for a Big Mac. So business owners are either selling their locations, they're not expanding in California, they have expansion plans in different states, so they're going out of business. Or at least that's what Tom Manzo, the CABIA president, told us.
Last week, we were talking about the state budget. and there was a minimum wage element to that too. The state has passed a law creating a minimum wage of $25 an hour. Is that right, for healthcare workers?
Yes, and of course the definition for healthcare worker is rather vague. It also applies to, say, gift shop employees at hospitals. And the interesting dichotomy here is that because the state pays for so much of the healthcare in the state, the bill for $25 an hour healthcare minimum wage, which starts phasing in at $23 an hour on June 1st, would have cost $4 billion to the state in its first year. So with the state facing a $7 billion deficit, even with all of the proposed cuts that Newsom has put forward, Newsom and his plan urged legislators to pass a bill delaying the wages adoption, and he signed it into law on May 31st, which is the last possible moment. When the government has to pay a minimum wage that's going to bankrupt it, they can just delay its adoption, but it seems like business owners are going to have to eat up and pay up for whatever the state puts forward.
Kenneth, thanks for joining us today. Listeners can keep up with this story and more at thecentersquare.com.
National Outlet Shopping Day is back. Join us June 8th and 9th at Simon Premium Outlets nationwide. Score thousands of can't-miss deals from brands you love all weekend long. They've got up to 65% off every day, and the National Outlet Shopping Day deals are even better. Visit premiumoutlets.com/NOSD to find a premium outlet near you. That's premiumoutlets.com/NOSD.